Hello, my name is Luke Schrader, and welcome to the LLHN Rhetorical Analysis Show, where we analyze new texts every week. This week we dive into Gloria Ndulza's How to Tame a Wild Tongue and look deeply at the decisions she made as she wrote the text. Enzel Duya, a cultural theorist, a women's rights activist, writes about her perception of language and how she wants to be able to speak her language freely. She's writing to use her native language, Spanglish, which is a combination of Spanish and English. In 1987, the year that her piece was written, racism was very prominent and people were being discriminated against because of their race. Enzel Duya wanted to reach out to the minorities that speak a different language, telling them that they don't have to conform to society and that they can speak any way that they want.
So in today's episode, we will examine her tone, her rhetorical choices in the excerpt, and how she makes ethical and emotional appeals throughout paragraphs 27 and 28 of her paper. She uses a proud and aggressive tone in the excerpt in order to emphasize her argument that minorities should not conform to the general public. She also uses various rhetorical devices, like parallelism and deportative sentences, in order to lend credibility to herself and make an emotionally appealing argument.
Now we hand it off to Hunter and Lakshman to analyze the rhetorical decisions that Enzel Duya made throughout the section of How to Tame a Wild Tongue. Go.
Hello, my name is Lakshman. To begin, Enzel Duya begins multiple clauses with the words until I and follows it with I cannot, to explain to her audience that she cannot be her true self until she does not have to conform to the majority standards. With this, she appeals to the emotions of the audience. During Enzel Duya's excerpt, she utters, until I can take pride in my language, I cannot take pride in myself. Until I can accept as legitimate Chicana Texas Spanish, I cannot accept the legitimacy of myself. Until I am free to write bilingually and to switch codes without having to translate, while I still have to speak English or Spanish when I would rather speak Spanglish, and as long as I have to accommodate the English speakers rather than having them accommodate to me, my tongue will be illegitimate. Enzel Duya repeats the beginning of each clause because she needs to emphasize the pain of not being her true self and not being able to show herself. The pain of conforming to someone she is not. This use of repetition appeals to the audience, so the audience's emotion, because Enzel Duya is verbally expressing the pain she's been put through, and her rage that's bottled up inside her. The audience can easily see a tone shift as well, from calm and collected to anguish and hatred. This all sums up to the audience's feelings and some understanding of her pain, making her appeal to their emotions. Now, I'm going to move on to Hunter.
Hello, my name is Hunter. To start, Gloria Enzel Duya tells the audience about how her native tongue, or what it is, and how she was raised in a way that made her native tongue that way. Enzel Duya appeals to the audience through pathos, or otherwise known as emotions. She reaches the emotions of her audience and gets the audience more interested into her main point. She tells her audience that no one should have to conform to the public standards of speaking just English in America. She talks about how her personal experiences relate back to her being forced to conform to the English language. She uses her personal stories to help create a dramatic effect and tap into the emotions of her audience to create a stronger text, and this type of strategy falls under the pathos category since it deals with emotions. The tone she portrays in her passage is her bitterness of having to accommodate English speakers to her native voice. A representation of this is when she states, I have my serpent's tongue, my woman's voice, my sexual voice, my poet's voice, paragraph 28. This sentence is important because Enzel Duya is omitting conjunctions, which is a type of strategy called accidenting. This gives the text a dramatic tone and heightens the pace and effectiveness of what Enzel Duya is trying to express in her writing. She gets her main point across in the video of her essay of who she really is and that no one can change her. Now back to Luke and Naveen to talk about how Enzel Duya ties everything together.
In conclusion, it is clear that Anzalduya uses multiple rhetorical strategies in order to appeal to our audience. She repeats the sentence structure, until I cannot, multiple times in order to emphasize how she cannot feel free until she doesn't have to constantly worry about fitting in.
Ooh, it's kind of warm down there. She also uses asyndeton or omitting conjunctions to emphasize the importance of her message and show the audience the meaning of her writing.
Wow, she really did a lot in that passage.
She sure did. Stay tuned for next week as we analyze the hit novel, If You Give a Moose a Muffin.
Thanks for watching and have a great day.